Hey everybody, Rachel K. Collier here. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some super important practical tips for playing live. Over the years, in all the shows I've done, lots of things have gone wrong, including watching my Ableton Push 2 and all my precious MIDI controllers vibrate off the stage because of the subs. In one show, I lost my hearing in one ear for 24 hours. That was terrible. And I've also seen, it was quite funny, but not really, a set of decks start to smoke because of confused international power voltages. Looking back at some of my behind the scenes show footage from this year, I'm hoping that these tips will help you avoid some of the obstacles that I've run into. Today's video is sponsored by me and my How to Perform with Ableton Live course. If you're looking to get out on the road this autumn and you want to set up a simple but solid and reliable playback rig, or you fancy yourself doing a live looping extravaganza, then this course is right for you, and there's 50% off right now using the discount code NEWTERM50 at the checkout. I'll put the details in the description. Right, let's get into it. Let me share with you my 5 super important practical tips you may not have thought about. Number 1, before you leave the house. So I'll start with a simple one, and that is be careful with your instrument cases. If you're driving to a show, then bloody great, you can load all your Dreamy Flight cases into the car and your stands and do a load in and you're good to go. However, if you're boarding an airplane, this is completely different.
George Bush Intercontinental Airport.
Annoyingly, you might find you need to actually ditch some of your flight cases depending on how much you want to spend. Putting countless bags in the hold can be really expensive, especially if you're flying with an airline that charges you 3 times as much just because it's a musical instrument. When I flew to Czech Republic for Beats for Love festival, I ended up having a massive argument with the lady on the check-in desk and taking my mini brute out of the flight case, putting it in my hand luggage, filling the flight case with clothes just so I didn't have to pay an extra €300. When I flew to Texas and Paris earlier this year, my case combo ended up being 1 flight case and 2 big soft rucksacks with all the expensive stuff wrapped in clothes and a stand bag also full of clothes. This saved me about $1,000 and a few stressful arguments at the airport. Obviously, if I was Taylor Swift, I wouldn't really need to think about any of this stuff, but you all probably know that touring as an independent artist is expensive, especially if you're pretty much paying for it yourself. So I found these little cheapos, $20. Number 2, stage setup tips. Velcro. I say this word to everybody who's playing live electronically. Crafting the ultimate spaceship can take time, be a bit fiddly, and is usually comprised of big and small pieces that don't fit together like Lego. Industrial Velcro has been an absolute godsend for me. It means that not only do my controllers actually stay in one place when I'm on stage, but I can also build my rig entirely backstage and carry it on without it falling to pieces. It's very affordable and very effective. Next, let's talk about voltage. When you travel internationally, definitely check the country and see whether you need a step up or a step down transformer to power your equipment correctly. You can check where you're performing's backline and see if one's provided, but if you do want to rehearse in the meantime, then you may need to hire one. I wanted to hire one when I flew to Texas, but it was really expensive, so I ended up buying one and lugging it across the pond. Mark up your stands so you get the right heights. I've played a show before where mine have been too low and it's ruined everything. Definitely find a way to mark it. We used nail varnish in the last show so that when you're setting up in the dark and under a time pressure, you know you're going to be going on stage and playing in the right position. And the last thing in my stage setup tips, make sure you mark your cases clearly. Everything gets thrown together backstage and you do not want anyone walking off with your precious instrument babies.
2 minutes, okay, really quick.
Number 3, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So of course, if you're playing a show, I would expect you will be rehearsed, but if you're going away for a couple of days or you need to recover from jet lag, then I always like to get a hotel room that I know will be big enough to set up and rehearse in. The beauty of having an electronic rig is that we can just plug in our headphones and do a rehearsal without having to hire a rehearsal space. This leads me nicely on to the next point, which is set up your own in-ear monitoring. I'm sure most of you have done this already. If you have no idea how to do it, I recommend it so much. It will change your whole life. You are completely in control of the levels on stage. You do not need to rely on an engineer that you've never met before at a festival. I've got a whole section on how to do this in my course, and hopefully this will prevent you from having a near-death experience just like I did. On to another technical point for this section. Treat your computer like a person. Your computer is the be-all and end-all when you're performing electronically on stage. Now in my course I talk a lot about not overloading it, using too many third-party plugins and freaking out your computer. This is very, very important if you want longevity and no crashes on stage. I, to this day, touch wood, have never had an Ableton crash on stage, and this is because I believe I know how to treat it well and like a person I love. Always thank your computer after the show and show it respect, and hopefully this will work for you and you'll avoid any crashes or stage tragedies. Feeling quite nervous, feeling kind of nervous. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty nervous. Dealing with nerves. Now this is something I've definitely struggled with over the years, especially being a vocalist, and it's the first thing that shows when you're singing on stage, my voice cracking. I get very, very nervous, but I have to give myself these pep talks before I go on stage. I know some people imagine people naked watching, that one doesn't really work for me. I always like to kind of rewind back to myself at a younger age and kind of imagine seeing myself now and looking how far I've come. And that makes me feel like, cool, I'm ready to go on stage. We do a hole there and a hole underneath. We'll just put Velcro cable ties in it. Hello everyone, I'm Rachel K. Collier. Tonight I'm wearing cable ties. Outfits. So if you're going on stage feeling $1 million, you're probably gonna give a better show. That's how I feel anyway. Whatever you feel good in is what you need to wear. Don't do what I do and leave things to the last minute. I'm just gonna basically have a quick flick through in case I need something for tomorrow night. Yeah, I don't know, a bit too vintage, isn't it? Take away that extra bit of stress on the day of the show. Number 4, at the show. So personally, before I go on stage, I really like to have some space, whether that's in the green room or sometimes in a car, sometimes in an alley, depending on the venue and where you're performing. And I also like to save my voice and save my vocals. I don't want to be chatting over loud music before I'm about to go and sing 12 songs. Running a little behind. Be prepared for stuff to go wrong. Just backstage, just don't really know what to do myself. Now this happens all the time in my experiences. Shows run late, shows run early. Sometimes people run in and say, where are you? Why aren't you on stage yet? That has happened to me. Now the way I set up my Ableton set is that I can on the spot jump forward and skip songs, make sure all those tempo changes are aligned, or I can just play to a certain point and finish wherever I want to.
I've got one more song for you tonight, everybody.
So even though we can prepare our set list in Ableton, we do need to be able to have some flexibility on stage.
2 minutes, okay, we're gonna quick.
During the show, if you've done all these points, you should be fully prepared, fully technically prepared. Go out there, go and enjoy it, give it your all, you got one shot. The most important point here of the video, do not forget about snacks. So depending on what country you're performing, how late you're performing, it may be that when you finish playing, you have got no snacks. This has happened to me so many times, so be prepared if the shops are going to be closed to have your snacks on hand so you can have your after show beer and decompress. Cheers everyone! Number 5, social media and promo. Now this might seem obvious because everybody's doing it all the time now, but you might play the best show of your life and nobody's captured it. You might have the old IG stories and things like that, but I think it's really important to make sure you've got a friend or someone in the crowd that you can ask to take pictures for you specifically that you can use, or film it if needs be. The Team RKC in action. Manager Ben doing emails, Billy doing socials. Another little tip for me, and something that's worked for me in the past, is if you're doing a string of shows or travelling around doing something exciting, I feel like it's a good time to release music. You're generally online more, on social media more, and it feels more natural to be shouting about your single rather than doing the same old posts from the studio every day. So take advantage of that opportunity and drop a little tune if you're out on the road doing something cool. Okay, and a final tip, don't forget to have fun. When we're playing shows, it can all feel quite stressful. It's really. There's loads going on, and usually we can't remember the fun parts until after it's happened. So be in the moment, do fun things, go vintage shopping, meet up with other artists in town, have a few beers and see the sights. I have a special guest with me right here. It's the one and only Neon Pine. So there we go. There's a few tips from me, from my experiences on the road. I really hope it helps you guys. And like I said, if you do want to get super technical and learn how to set up an Ableton rig, whether that's a nice simple playback or a full-on live looping show, then check out my course. There's 50% off right now. Otherwise, there's lots going on over on my Patreon, monthly music making challenges, a whole Discord community. Go ahead, like and subscribe, really helps the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Mwah.